Hey everyone, it's On the Cusp with Chad, coming to you from the Great White North. That's Chad's unscheduled seminars on POWSCHE. Your host, otherwise known as the .2 Soul Giga Chad, here today to talk to you about pussy. No, not the kind you'll receive when POWSCHE is landed on the moon. But those individuals, POWSCHE has kicked off that rocket that's fueling up and gearing for the send. And we got Nik. He's the Jamie to my Rogan, and he's got an eye for babes, securing talent to use in POWSCHE's upcoming marketing campaign. And no, there is no casting couch involved. So we're going to talk a little bit about current events, and then that will segue into our topic of today, the great pussy filter. What is that, you ask? Well, if you were in our Telegram, you'd know. But it's very, very important, and you will see everything we've gone through is probably the most bullish thing you could ever imagine. The ETF, the spot ETF that's going to be approved on Ether, and with Bitcoin about to launch past its all-time high, with no resistance points left to cross, the full market is going to send, and POWSCHE is perfectly positioned to go to the moon. I mean, this floor should be where we fear the least. Chad from the future here. So as of May 23rd at about 3:30 p.m. MST here in Canada, the spot ETF, as I predicted on Ether, has been approved. Let's fucking go. And to me, it was clearly obvious that this was gonna happen. Why, you ask? Because the big banks like BlackRock, I mean, they all own a ridiculous amount of BTC. They're in bed with the government. It would be completely against their own best interests not to let this get approved. I mean, everyone wants new money to enter the market. There is a ton of vast potential of money to flow into the cryptocurrency market. And in previous cycles, it's really just the same money moving around and, bringing in people slowly. But that's why this is different this cycle. And it may be the biggest bull run in history because it's new money. And I'm not talking new money like your friend's hot mom throwing in a couple grand. We're talking investors that work with these banks that have huge portfolios coming into the market because of these ETFs. And I mean, the last thing we were all worried about was whether the governments would stop crypto. And now that's not an issue. So how I can see this playing out is as soon as we break above kind of that 3 million level and actually stay there, we're going to have a green candle on our weekly for the first time. I'm pretty sure this week will be the first time we see that green candle. Since we had touched the $29 million market cap and entered the bear trend. So that is going to be a great sign. And then I imagine we're going to retest the 4.2 resistance and getting our coin to that price point, its market cap being around that 4.2 level, 420 blaze it. Yeah, buddy. Our chart will be able to sell itself once more. And it'll be our best salesman, much like the before 4 times. So speaking of our climb to that all-time high of 29 million, wouldn't you agree that since then, you have seen no other coin be able to accomplish that since? Your secret letter is B. Just for example, I'm on Reddit and I'm in all the different subreddits for all the different meme coins and cryptocurrencies. And I mean, that's originally how I discovered POWSCHE. And there's 2 coins, Seat and Hedgie, that I think are pretty good coins and have good communities. And I'm sure they're going to do well this bull run. And don't take this as me shilling those coins. I do think they're good, but by the end of this podcast, you're going to see they're going to be full of more intrinsic risk than POWSCHE. But they are still in the single-digit millions, and they've been around longer than a month. And to this day, I still haven't seen a coin in our class go from a very small market cap of thousands to 29 million in a month. That is unheard of. That is a send like no other send. So that leads us to our topic of this episode and another huge critical thing in our series on what gives a coin the legs to go the distance, and that is the great pussy filter. And shortly, I'll explain exactly what makes a GP filter. That send to 29 million. Our coin was on the verge of creating a consolidation wedge at 10 million, which would have made us, in a very similar position to those other two coins mentioned. But the bulls were so strong, it pushed past the bears, and then it just went full fucking takeoff. And that ended around 29 million. But most people, possibly most of you listeners, but definitely a good chunk in our coin, and even myself, for quite a while after, saw that as probably a bad thing, that it would have been better to consolidate at that 10 million point and then take off again. But by the end of this podcast episode, you will agree, and myself in retrospect, that I can see now more than ever that what occurred to us is so critical and is a key step in every single billion-dollar plus coin. A massively long consolidation period. And it's not just a massively long consolidation period, but it's a 90% plus haircut on that price. All right? And again, at face value, you're going to think, Chad, what the fuck you thinking? But no, we think a little bit deeper here in POWSCHE. This market, the nanocap space, the meme coins, it's all so new. It's months old, and there's so much innovation to be made. In fact, so much so that I'm positive that the Great Pussy Filter, otherwise known as the GP filter, is going to be a term used over and over again and is locked in history now. And I can see it being taught in classes later, the GP filter as a step that's needed, and also be in books. Maybe I'll write that book, who knows. But starting now, I'm going to dive into every single benefit that I've seen, which will help us along that journey to a market cap of billions. Let's go. So first off, wouldn't you agree that, for example, if we would have started that consolidation at 10 million, came down to like 7, and then she took off again to the next one, would we have had much time to prepare? Guys, would you ever go into business with fucking 10 random strangers and have a lot of money on the line? No, I don't think so. But that's the name of the game we're playing. And you don't want to be thrown into the wolves without kind of getting a little bit of organization and getting to know each other, right? That's what the fucking Great Pussy Filter provides. It's just like a relationship that's going really, really good. And then the universe is a kid that's watching you and your girlfriend go by on a bike and throws a stick into your wheels, the spokes, and you both fly over the handlebars, i.e. some sort of financial troubles. And now it really, really pushes you and stress tests you. And if you both come out of it fine, well then you got a solid thing going here. It's the same thing here, folks. Do you expect to win a war where you bring a ton of guys who've never fought together, never actually been in a fight? If you're the captain of a sailboat and you had 4 guys who had only seen calm waters, and then suddenly you get a call on the radio and the guy's like, "Hey buddy, massive storm coming your way, friend," I would have a lot of fear in that unproven crew. Do you want to go into the operating room when you need this surgery and the surgeon says, "Hey guy, it's my first time, friend"? Fuck, this is a good thing. We needed something this fucking hard to kick the shit out of us and see who was left standing, holders included. If not, you won't know what to expect. And where does a lot of fear come from, folks? It comes from the unknown, okay? Let me ask you, what does fear trigger? That's right, dumps. Do I have much for fear at this price level? Fuck no. Probably the least amount I've ever had. Because I've seen it. I mean, it's not a fucking unknown anymore. I know these guys have fucking gone through this with me. It's not an unknown anymore. So there's no fear that comes from that, which we would have had if we didn't go through this. Does that make sense? A smooth sea never made any skilled sailors. All right, folks? This month and a bit that we've had, it really got us a chance to work with one another, discuss, talk, see where everyone's talents lies, see that everyone had the cojones, the balls to make it through a long consolidation phase. And not only do we see where everyone's talents lies and their skill sets, and we have a very diverse team, but also see if, despite those skills, are they able to work together in a team well? Because I'm going to tell you, folks, a really skilled team that cannot work together is going to get beat by a mediocre team that has fucking killer teamwork skills. And we got the best of both worlds. Those weak links in the chain of your leadership, they're going to break if they're not strong enough to handle it, which we had one guy do. And he kind of gave a poor excuse, which I would never say because the universe might just throw that back on you. And, I'm not really a spiritual fellow at all. But you don't fuck with saying sort of those things, because you never know. But look, I've said this many times. I would trust the rest of leadership with large sums of money more than my own blood family. Why? Because there's evidence. They proved it. All right? Most of our, and I'm sure this is the similar case for most of us, we probably wouldn't trust all of our blood family with large sums of money. It's one of the biggest sources of friction between families. So again, talking about that unknown being fear, now being known. I have gone through everything with these guys, got to know them well, really read their character and vibes based on how they've acted during these times. And the unknown is now the known, and that fear, which is going to be in every other coin and was very much in our coin at the beginning because you don't really know what kind of people are holding, if you look at it in the bad light, big giant sticks of dynamite that they could tank the chart with. But in the good light, if they're truly good fellas, we relate, and we're on the same page, they're like safeguarding the supply because that entire supply won't be sold, but in the hands of many, at least a good fraction of them are going to sell that. So that's how I look at them in a positive light as the defenders and, guardians of the supply. And everything I've done, folks, since I've got into this coin is try to minimize risk between the big holders, between you holders and us. Minimize that fear. And it's kind of crazy how our leadership formed when, I vetted them all, right? So I'm very much aware of risk points and what is a risky character. Is it funny or does it surprise anyone that pretty much all leadership is very well established in their career? They're not young, young in this space, closer to 20. They're more closer to their 30s or they're already married, have a couple kids. Because these are people who think long term. These are people with experience that can take a coin and lead it. These coins that are run by fucking kids, I'm sorry. You guys are not ready and you don't have enough experience to lead, especially those of you who haven't really spent much time being social in school. It's going to really leave you at a disadvantage and it's just, it's not going to work out. And that's not to shit on you youngins because I see a lot of kids, let's call you young adults, not to be offensive, with a ton of potential here. And we all want to mold you all to be best versions of yourselves. Not only in POWSCHE, but outside. That's the type of leadership you want. So this is obviously going to be a 2-parter or 3-parter about the Great Pussy Filter, but this one was more so focused on how the Great Pussy Filter reduced risk and fear amongst all of us. It should have, because of stress testing your leadership, making sure they're legit, that they are fucking committed and have conviction towards the goals and the vision that Dev originally laid out. And it's not just leadership. I mean, there are holders that are so fucking committed, and I see show up every day, and props to you. The next podcast is going to go over the benefits of the organizational structure that we were only able to set up during the GP filter. And many of you folks are going to be climbing that ladder because you deserve it. And POWSCHE will never not recognize your contributions. And we appreciate everything that you've all been doing. Fucking the .2 Soul Giga Chad loves y'all. And lastly, the other big topic is getting rid of risk through the GP filter. And that's by getting people to redistribute their coins. So this has been episode 6. Until next time, this has been On the Cusp with Chad.